Morning, everybody. We're just waiting for everybody to join. Grisha ma'am is on the absentee list today. So we will have a teacher from Sunbeam, Grameen, lead Hindi session today. So just wait for a few more folks to join. Morning, Brinda ma'am.
Good morning, Jugjiv sir.
How was the session yesterday?
Very nice. We really had a very good session. The school is such a beautiful school, and it's a very happy place, it looked like. And I felt that there were good vibes. It was well organized. So that was good, and the participation was good, except that the volunteers from Asha came late, so they missed the first session, almost missed the whole thing on financial literacy, but otherwise they were there for the rest of it. So yes, on the whole, it was a good
Right,
experience. Yeah. So we
right.
missed
And
Manisha.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Even I missed you all.
Yeah. You would have
So,
liked it, except that the school is to reach the school is a little bit of an adventure, because of which the Asha school volunteers were late, because it's in a village. I don't know if you've been there, but it is in this village called Atroli.
okay, ma'am.
And when the GPS leads you there, sometimes it misleads you. So that's
Okay.
what happened with us. Yeah.
Ma'am, just a little thing I would like to say, and that
Yeah.
is today I just joined to see if the logistics and everything is fine. Otherwise,
Okay.
my daughter Sia Khanna has logged in through my
Okay.
ID only. Sia,
Okay.
please put on your video and say hi to everyone. So she's the host for the day.
Hello,
And
sir.
she's
Hello,
with me.
ma'am.
Hello. Hi.
Put on your video and show your face to everyone.
Just 1 second.
So though it is showing Manisha Khanna twice, but
Right.
we are from a different devices and far away from each other. So
Okay.
right now I'm going to log out, and in case there is something, Sia is going to
Yeah.
take care.
Okay.
And 1%, if something is there, you all may call me.
Okay. Right.
And Jalebi ma'am, sorry,
how are you?
Gulabee ma'am will be there for the Hindi session, book reading.
Hi, Sia. How you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
Good. So, uh, I think last year in May,
Yeah.
Sia also read for us,
Yes.
and she did a really good job. I remember.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to have you join us.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you thank you Jugjiv sir and Brinda ma'am. For now I'm exiting.
Okay.
Thank you ma'am. Bye bye.
Very Manisha.
Yeah. Bye.
So, प्रतिमा जी, पिछली बारी भी वृंदा मैम ने आपको समझाया था कि अगर आपको कोई भाषा सीखनी है तो उस भाषा में आप वार्तालाप कीजिए। वो सबसे आसान तरीका है भाषा सीखने का। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि आपकी हिंदी आपकी अंग्रेजी से बेहतर है, बट अंग्रेजी आज के ज़माने में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण भाषा है, और बिजनेस में ज़्यादातर अंग्रेजी इस्तेमाल की जाती है, और इंटरनेशनली अंग्रेजी भाषा है जिसमें लोग आपस में बातचीत करते हैं। तो ज़रूरी है कि आपकी अंग्रेजी अच्छी हो, आपके पास ये अपॉर्चुनिटी है, आपके पास ये मौका है, तो आप कोशिश करिए कि आप अंग्रेजी समझें और बात करने की कोशिश करें अंग्रेजी में। तो ये ज़रूरी है सब लोगों के लिए जिनकी थोड़ी अंग्रेजी ठीक नहीं है, और दूसरी तरफ से भी जिनकी हिंदी अच्छी नहीं है उनको हिंदी सेशन के लिए रहना चाहिए, और हिंदी समझनी चाहिए, बात करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हिंदी भी बहुत जरूरी है।
राइट, एब्सोल्युटली वेल सेड जुगजीव सर। और हम आशा करते हैं कि आप लोग थोड़ी कोशिश करोगे समझने की भी और बोलने की भी, और जितना आप बेझिझक बोलोगे उतने जल्दी आप सीखोगे। अगर गलतियां होती है उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। तो मेरे ख्याल से सर, can I start the reading session? And I think I can request our young volunteer today
Sia can share.
share the book, My Family and Other Animals. You must have the bookmark.
Yes, just 1 second, please. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it is. Thank you. So we are going to continue with reading My Family and Other Animals from the Corfu trilogy. Just a quick introduction for those who may have joined today. This is a story of the adventures of Gerald Durrell when he was a young boy and was brought up on this island called Corfu in Greece. He grew up with two older brothers, an older sister, and his mother, and a whole lot of other people who were associated with the family. So now he was talking about a new tutor whom he had gone to learn. And this new tutor was an ornithologist, a lover of birds, and he also had some strange, eccentric habits. And Gerald Durrell wanted to use the washroom, wanted to use the lavatory, as it is rightly called in English. And he thought that his tutor, Kralesky, would say that every time he wanted to go to the washroom, he would say that I'm just looking in on my mother. And so Gerald Durrell, to be polite, said that he would like to visit his mother. And Kralesky did not understand that Gerald actually wanted to go to the washroom. So he took Gerald to actually see his old mother, who was sitting in a room on a bed, right? And he took Gerald there and he said, "Mother dear," Kralevsky called softly, bobbing across the room and seating himself on a chair by the bed. "Mother dear, here's Jerry come to see you." The minute figure on the bed lifted thin, pale lids and looked at me with great, tawny eyes that were as bright and intelligent as a bird's. She lifted a slender, beautifully shaped hand, weighed down with rings from the depths of the auburn tresses, and held it out to me, smiling mischievously. "I'm so very flattered that you asked to see me," she said in a soft, husky voice. "So many people nowadays consider a person of my age a bore." Embarrassed, I muttered something, and the bright eyes looked at me, twinkling, and she gave a fluting blackbird laugh and patted the bed with her hand. "Do sit down," she invited. "Do sit down and talk for a minute." Gingerly, I picked up the mass of auburn hair and moved it to one side so that I could sit on the bed. The hair was soft, silky, and heavy, like a flame-colored wave swishing through my fingers. Mrs. Krawalski smiled at me and lifted a strand of it in her fingers, twisting it gently so that it sparkled. "My one remaining vanity," she said, "all that is left of my beauty." She gazed down at the flood of hair as though it were a pet or some other creature that had nothing to do with her and patted it affectionately. "It is strange," she said, "very strange. I have a theory, that some beautiful things fall in love with themselves, as Narcissus did." Okay, so Narcissus is again a mythological character who fell in love with his own self. Okay, and over there, I mean, Narcissus would keep looking at his own reflection in the water and keep admiring himself. So anyone who is in love with their own looks, anyone who is in love with their own beautiful self, is compared to narcissists. So she says that it is very strange that I have a theory, that some beautiful things fall in love with themselves as narcissists did. When they do that, they need to no help in order to live. They become so absorbed in their own beauty that they live for that alone, feeding on themselves, as it were. Thus, the more beautiful they become, the stronger they become. They live in a circle. That's what my hair has done. It is self-sufficient. It grows only for itself. And the fact that my old body has fallen to ruin does not affect it a bit. When I die, they will be able to pack my coffin deep with it, and it will probably go on growing after my body is dust. Now, after my body is dust, in all our religions, we believe that when we die and when we are either cremated or buried, our entire body, the physical body, turns to dust, or it becomes one with the earth or the soil. And that is what she means by saying, even after I die and I'm buried and my body turns to dust, my hair will remain and my coffin can be lined with my beautiful hair. Now, mother, you shouldn't talk like that. Kralesky chided her gently. I don't like these morbid thoughts of yours. She turned her head and regarded him affectionately, chuckling softly. But it is not morbid, John. It is only a theory I have, she explained. Besides, think what a beautiful shroud it will make. Shroud is the cloth or the material with which we cover a dead body. She gazed down at her hair, smiling happily. In the silence, Kralesky's watch chimed eagerly, and he started, pulled it out of his pocket, and stared at it. By Jove, he said, jumping to his feet. Those eggs should have hatched. Excuse me a minute, will you, mother? I really must go and see. Run along, she said. Jerry and I will chat until you come back. Don't worry about us. That's the ticket, exclaimed Kralesky, and bobbed rapidly across the room between the banks of flowers like a mole burrowing through a rainbow. The door sighed shut behind him, and Mrs. Kralesky turned her head and smiled at me. They say, she announced, they say that when you get old as I am, your body slows down. I don't believe it. No, I think that it is quite wrong. I have a theory that you do not slow down at all, but that life slows down for you. You understand me? Everything becomes languid, as it were, and you can notice so much more when things are in slow motion. The things you see, the extraordinary things that happen all around you that you never even suspected before. It is really a delightful adventure, quite delightful. She sighed with satisfaction and glanced around the room. Take flowers, she said, pointing at the blooms that filled the room. Have you heard flowers talking? Greatly intrigued, I shook my head. The idea of flowers talking was quite new to me. Well, I can assure you that they do talk, she said. They hold long conversations with each other. At least I presume them to be conversations, for I don't understand what they are saying naturally. When you're as old as I am, you'll probably be able to hear them as well. That is, if you retain an open mind about such matters. Most people say that as one gets older, one believes nothing and is surprised at nothing, so that one becomes more receptive to ideas. Nonsense. All the old people I know have had their minds locked up like grey, scaly oysters since they were in their teens. She glanced at me sharply. Do you think I'm queer? Touched, eh? Talking about flowers holding conversations? Hastily and truthfully, I denied this. I said that I thought it was more than likely that flowers conversed with each other. I pointed out that bats produced minute squeaks, which I was able to hear, but which would be inaudible to an elderly person, since the sound was too high pitched. That's it. That's it, she exclaimed delightedly. It's a question of wavelength. I put it all down to the slowing up process. Another thing that you don't notice when you're young is that flowers have personality. They are different from each other, just as people are. Look, I'll show you. Do you see that rose over there in the bowl by itself? On a small table in the corner, enshrined in a small silver bowl, was a magnificent velvety rose, so deep a garnet red that it was almost black. It was a gorgeous flower, the petals curled to perfection, the bloom on them as soft and unblemished as the down on a newly hatched butterfly's wing. Isn't he a beauty? Inquired Mrs. Kralesky. Isn't he wonderful? Now, I've had him 2 weeks. You'd hardly believe it, you'd you? And he was not a bud when he came. No, he was fully open. But do you know, he was so sick that I did not think he would live. The person who plucked him was careless enough to put him in with a bunch of Michaelmas daisies. Fatal, absolutely fatal. You have no idea how cruel the daisy family is on the whole. They were very rough and ready sort of flowers, very down to earth, and of course, to put such an aristocrat as a rose among them is just asking for trouble. By the time he got here, he had drooped and faded to such an extent that I did not even notice him among the daisies. But luckily, I heard them at it. I was dozing here when they started, particularly, it seemed to me, the yellow ones who always seem so belligerent. Well, of course, I didn't know what they were saying, but it sounded horrible. I couldn't think who they were talking to at first. I thought they were quarreling among themselves. Then I got out of bed to have a look, and I found that the poor rose, crushed in the middle of them, being harried to death. I got him out and put him by himself and gave him half an aspirin. Aspirin is so good for roses. Drachma pieces for the chrysanthemums. Aspirin for roses. Brandy for sweet peas. And a squeeze of lemon juice for the fleshy flowers like begonias. Well, removed from the company of the daisies and given that pick-me-up, he revived in no time. And he seemed so grateful. He's obviously making an effort to remain beautiful for as long as possible in order to thank me. So see the imagination of the old lady. Okay, she imagines that the rose was almost dying in the company of all those daisies, and that the rose, which was like a kingly person, a royal person, wanted to be set free from them, and she nurtured the rose by putting it in fresh water with a little aspirin in it, and how it survived. And she also imagines that it is possibly living in order to thank her for all her effort. She gazed at the rose affectionately as it glowed in its silver bowl. Yes, there's a lot I have learnt about flowers. They're just like people. Put too many together and they get on each other's nerves and start to wilt. Mix some kinds and you get what appears to be a dreadful form of class distinction. And of course, the water is so important. Do you know that some people think it's kind to change the water every day? Dreadful. You can hear the flowers dying if you do that. I change the water once a week, put a handful of earth in it, and they thrive. The door opened and Kralesky came bobbing in, smiling triumphantly. They have all hatched, he announced. All 4 of them. I'm so glad. I was quite worried, as it's her first clutch. Good, dear. I'm so glad, said Mrs. Kralevsky delightedly. That is nice for you. Well, Jerry and I have been having a most interesting conversation. At least I found it interesting anyway. Getting to my feet, I said that I had found it most interesting as well. You must come and see me again, if it would not bore you, she said. You will find my ideas a little eccentric, I think, but they are worth listening to. She smiled up at me, lying on the bed under her great cloak of hair, and lifted her hand in a courteous gesture of dismissal. I followed Kralevsky across the room, and at the door I looked back and smiled. She was lying quite still, submissive under the weight of her hair. She lifted her hand again and waved. It seemed to me in the gloom that the flowers had moved closer to her, had crowded eagerly about her bed as though waiting for her to tell them something. A ravaged old queen, lying in state, surrounded by her whispering coat of flowers. Again, Gerald's imagination. Okay. So we move on to the next chapter, 15th chapter, the Cyclamen Woods. Okay, obviously it's the name of a part of the forest. Let's see what we have over here. There are a few hands raised. I shall answer your doubts at the end of the reading session. Half a mile or so from the villa rose a fairly large conical hill, covered with grass and heather, and crowned with 3 tiny olive groves, separated from each other by wide beds of myrtle. I call these 3 little groves the Cyclamen Woods, for in the right season, the ground beneath the olive trees was flushed magenta and wine red with the flowers of cyclamen that seemed to grow more thickly and more luxuriantly here than anywhere else in the countryside. The flashy circular bulbs with their flaky peeling skin grew in beds like oysters, each with its cluster of deep green, white veined leaves, a fountain of beautiful flowers that looked as though they had been made from magenta stained snowflakes. The cyclamen woods were an excellent place to spend an afternoon. Lying beneath the shade of the olive trunks, you could look out over the valley, a mosaic of fields, vineyards, and orchards, to where the sea shone between the olive trunks, 1,000 fiery sparkles running over it as it rubbed itself gently and languorously along the shore. The hilltop seemed to have its own breeze, albeit a baby one. For no matter how hot it was below in the valley, up in the 3 olive groves, the tiny wind played constantly. The leaves whispered, and the drooping cyclamen flowers bowed to each other in endless greeting. It was an ideal spot in which to rest after a hectic lizard hunt, when your head was pounding with the heat, your clothes limp and discolored with perspiration, and the 3 dogs hung out their pink tongues and panted like ancient miniature railway engines. It was while the dogs and I were resting after just such a hunt that I acquired 2 new pets and indirectly started off a chain of coincidences that affected both Larry and Mr. Kralesky. The dogs, tongues rippling, had flung themselves down among the cyclamens and lay on their stomachs, hind legs spread out, in order to get as much of the cool earth against their bodies as possible. Their eyes were half closed, and their jaws dark with saliva. I was leaning against an olive trunk that had spent the past 100 years growing itself into the right shape for a perfect backrest, and gazing out over the fields and trying to identify my peasant friends among the tiny colored blobs that moved there. Far below, over a blonde square of ripening maize, a small black and white shape appeared, like a piebald Maltese cross, skimming rapidly across the flat areas of cultivation, heading determinedly for the hilltop on which I sat. As it flew up towards me, the magpie uttered 3 brief, harsh chucks that sounded rather muffled, as though its beak were full of food. It dived as neatly as an arrow into the depths of an olive tree some distance away. There was a pause, and then there arose a chorus of shrill, wheezing shrieks from among the leaves, which swept to a crescendo and died slowly away. Again I heard the magpie chuck, softly and warningly, and it leapt out of the leaves and glided off down the hillside once more. I waited until the bird was a mere speck, like a dust mote floating over the frilly triangle of vineyard on the horizon, and then got to my feet and cautiously circled the tree from which the curious sounds had come. High up among the branches, half hidden by the green and silver leaves, I could make out a large oval bundle of twigs, like a huge flurry football wedged among the branches. Excitedly, I started to scramble up the tree, while the dogs gathered at the bottom of the trunk and watched me with interest. When I was near to the nest, I looked down, and my stomach writhed, for the dogs' faces peering up at me eagerly were the size of pimpernel flowers. Carefully, my palms sweating, I edged my way out along the branches until I crouched side by side with the nest among the breeze-ruffled leaves. It was a massive structure, a great basket of carefully interwoven sticks, a deep cup of mud and rootlets in its heart. The entrance hole through the wall was small, and the twigs that surrounded it bristled with sharp thorns, as did the sides of the nest and the neatly domed wickerwork roof. It was a sort of nest designed to discourage the most ardent ornithologist. Trying to avoid looking down, I lay on my stomach along the branch and pushed my hand carefully inside the thorny bundle, groping in the mud cup. Under my fingers, I could feel soft, quivering skin and fluff, while a shrill chorus of wheezes rose from inside the nest. Carefully, I curved my fingers around one fat, warm baby and drew it out. Enthusiastic though I was, even I had to admit it was no beauty. Its squat beak, with a yellow fold at each corner, the bald head, and the half-open and bleary eyes, gave it a drunken and rather imbecile look. The skin hung in folds and wrinkles all over its body, apparently pinned loosely and haphazardly to its flesh by black feather stubs. Between the lanky legs drooped a huge flaccid stomach, the skin of it so fine that you could dimly see the internal organs beneath. The baby squatted in my palm, its belly spreading out like a water-filled balloon, and wheezed hopefully. Groping about inside the nest, I found that there were 3 other youngsters, each as revolting as the one I had in my hand. After some thought, and having examined each of them with care, I decided to take 2 and leave the other pair for the mother. This struck me as being quite fair, and I did not see how the mother could possibly object. I chose the largest because he would grow up quickly, and the smallest because he looked so pathetic, put them carefully inside my shirt, and climbed cautiously back to the waiting dogs. On being shown the new additions to the menagerie, Whittle and Puke immediately decided that they must be edible and tried to find out if their conclusion was correct. After I had reprimanded them, I showed the birds to Roger. He sniffed at them in his usual way and then retreated hastily when the babies shot their heads up on long, scrawny necks, red mouths gaping wide, and wheezed lustily. As I carried my new pets back homewards, I tried to decide what to call them. I was still debating this problem when I reached the villa and found the family, who had just been on a shopping expedition into town, disgorging from the car. Holding out the babies in my cupped hands, I inquired if anyone could think of a suitable pair of names for them. The family took one look and all reacted in their individual ways. All right, so we will stop here. It's exactly 11. And there have been a few hands that have been raised. So if anybody wants to ask me a question, you can do so right now.
Sia, if you can unmute the folks whose hands are raised.
Currently, I can't see anybody's hands raised.
There were quite a few while I was
Okay, they
reading.
were earlier, but maybe not now. Maybe not now. Okay.
I think they've
Right.
put their hands
Yeah,
down
maybe
now.
not now. So, we are on webinar mode. So if you want to ask a question and speak, can you just raise your hand and Sia will unmute you and then you will be able to ask the question. Or you can put it in chat. Either way, those are the 2 options.
Yes.
Sometimes the participants go more than 100 and the normal model doesn't work. So that's why we move to the webinar mode. But there was
you can remove the text now. You don't have to display it anymore. And if there are any hands that are raised, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to say something or ask something quickly? So you see how Gerald goes about collecting samples for his own collection also. It's not really easy to do what he does. Okay.
तो सवाल है, अभी हमने पढ़ा था कि ये जेरल्ड की ट्यूटर की मदर बता रही थी जेरल्ड को कि फूल आपस में बात करते हैं. तो आप लोगों को क्या लगता है, ये पॉसिबल है? फूल आपस में बात कर सकते हैं? प्लांट्स आपस में बात कर सकते हैं कि नहीं बात कर सकते? आपको क्या लगता है? हमने कुछ समय पहले किताब पढ़ी थी, द इनर लाइफ ऑफ एनिमल्स.
यस.
तो प्लांट्स का अलग तरीका होता है एक दूसरे से कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए. तो बात कर सकते हैं, जैसे हम बात करते हैं वैसे हमको तो समझ नहीं आती, पर उनका अलग तरीका होता है। जैसे उस किताब में हमने पढ़ा था कि कोई उनको लगे कि कोई हानि हानि आ रही है उनको, तो या उनको कोई दिक्कत आई हो तो वो हवा में एक कुछ छोड़ देते थे, जिससे
हाँ
दूसरे दूसरे पेड़ों को पता चल जाता था। या अंडरग्राउंड उनका नेटवर्क है, जिसको ऑथर ने वुड वाइड वेब कहा है। जो वर्ल्ड वाइड वेब
हाँ
हम सुनते हैं, उसके आगे वुड वाइड वेब उसको कहा है, कि वो कैसे अंडरग्राउंड नेटवर्क से एक दूसरे को संकेत भेज सकते हैं और चीजें भी भेज सकते हैं एक दूसरे को। तो प्लांट का अलग तरीका होता है एक एक दूसरे से बात करने के लिए। ये उन्होंने हमको बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझाया था, पीटर वॉलबीन ने। और हमने इस पे फिर एक और किताब पढ़ी थी, इनर लाइफ ऑफ एनिमल्स। तो अगर आपने उस पर दिलचस्पी हो तो आप पुराने यूट्यूब वीडियोस उस पर देख सकते हैं।
there was one hand raised. Fale or Fateh, who is that? Sia, can you see the hand raised?
I'll just find the.
Yeah.
I think they've not raised it right now, but I'll just find
Okay. So he had raised his hand twice. But अगर chat में कोई प्रश्न है तो आप पूछ लीजिए.
They can talk now.
Yeah.
Somebody is asking what is the meaning of
Falesh.
murder?
Yeah. फलेश, आप बोलिए, आपको क्या बोलना है? अपने आप को अनम्यूट करो.
Mom, I am saying that the plants can communicate with their roots network.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
That's what Jugjiv sir just said. You must have also been part of the other reading of inner life of animals. So good. So we saw a lot of things that plants, flowers, birds, animals, all of them are capable of doing, and how human-like they are, and how beautifully Gerald brings out all these human-like qualities in these creatures is what this book is all about, and the beauty of this book lies there, right?
Question in chat is, what is the meaning of myrtle?
Of myrtle. Myrtle is a kind of thorn, right? It's a kind of a thorn which grows in bushes. Okay, anything else, children? Or anyone else who wants to ask us? Anyone who's here? Great. So I will ask Jugjiv sir to continue with his session of reading. Thank you, everybody, for being part of today's reading session. We shall meet next Sunday and continue with Gerald's adventures. Thank you. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
तो
you.
अगर कोई नए बच्चे हैं तो मैं उनको बता दूं हम यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं। हम 3 किताबें पढ़ रहे हैं। हमारा ये कोई आपकी स्कूल का के साथ करिकुलम नहीं है। तो ये हम 3 किताबें पढ़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि हमारा मानना है कि पढ़ने से आपको बहुत फायदे होते हैं। पढ़ने से क्या होता है, आप और दुनिया देख पाते हैं, जो हमारी दुनिया नहीं है, और दुनिया देख पाते हैं। हम देख सकते हैं कि दूसरे लोग के कोई चीज़ उनको होती है तो किस तरह से रिएक्ट करते हैं। तो बहुत हमको सीख मिलती है पढ़ने से, और हमारा सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ता है, क्योंकि हम समझ पाते हैं दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है। और जो भी आज के बड़े बड़े जो लीडर्स हैं, और स्पेशली कॉर्पोरेट लीडर्स, और जो जैसे साइंस में या इकोनॉमिक्स में, हिस्ट्री में, जिन्होंने बहुत किताबें लिखी हैं, बहुत मान्यता प्राप्त की है, आप उनको पूछेंगे तो वो आपको बताएंगे कि सब में एक चीज़ कॉमन रहती है, वो किताबें बहुत पढ़ते हैं। तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम किताबें पढ़ें। हमारी आदत ये छूटती जा रही है, और ये अभी से नहीं, कुछ सालों से ये छूटती जा रही है। तो हमारी ये चेष्टा है कि आदत हमारी नहीं छूटे, यही हमारी चेष्टा है। तो ये आपके स्कूल करिकुलम का हिस्सा नहीं है, ये अलग से है। और हमारी यही चेष्टा है कि आप किताबें पढ़ें और उनसे सीखें। हमारी यही कोशिश है। क्या रिप्लाई दें प्रथमा जी? आप अनम्यूट कर, हैंड रेज करिए, अनम्यूट कीजिए, पूछ लीजिए, क्योंकि आप मैंने पहले भी कहा था कोई जरूरत नहीं है आपको अटेंड करना, जरूरी नहीं है, आपकी मर्जी है। तो आपके लिए आप कुछ आप सीख रहे हैं, ठीक है, नहीं सीख रही तो ठीक है। आपको, मैं तो नहीं कह रहा आपको आने के लिए, है ना। तो हमारा हमारा मकसद है कि आप समझें और सीखें। तो आप बार बार वही पूछी जा रही है मेरे से, तो ऑनलाइन क्लास और बच्चे नहीं हैं, तो ये मैं इसका मेरे को इसका फ्रैंकली जवाब नहीं पता है आप किस बारे में बात कर रही हैं। आप आई हैं यहाँ पे, मेरा तो आपसे यही गुजारिश है कि आप ये जो किताबें पढ़ी जा रही हैं उनको सुने, उनके बारे में सोचें, और सोच के अगर आपके दिमाग में कुछ आता है तो उसके बारे में लिखें, और जो आप लिख के आप मनीषा मैम को भेजें, और वो हम जॉय ऑफ लर्निंग डायरीज में पब्लिश करेंगे। अगर आप इंटरनेट पर जाएंगे, जॉय ऑफ लर्निंग डायरी देखेंगे तो आपको मिलेगा। जैसे जैसे अभी हिंदी में बहुत बहुत अच्छे लेख आए हैं, इस हफ्ते भी आए हैं, सनबीम ग्रामीण से अच्छे लेख आए हैं। बाघ की जो कहानी हम पढ़ रहे हैं उसके बारे में ना। सो आप आए यहाँ पे, टेंशन ना लें, आप समझने की कोशिश करें। मैं समझता हूँ कि कुछ लोगों की अंग्रेजी इतनी ठीक नहीं है, पर यही आपके पास यही अपॉर्चुनिटी है, ये कि आपकी अंग्रेजी बेहतर हो ना। तो ये आप इस तरह से इसको सेशन को लें कि आप यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं और किताबें पढ़ी जा रही हैं, आप उससे कुछ सीख रहे हैं, और आप समझ रही हैं, तो वेरी गुड, यही मकसद है। तो आप देखें क्या पढ़ा जा रहा है, सुने, उसके बारे में सोचें, और आपको कुछ नहीं करना है। दिमाग आपके दिमाग को थोड़ा उकसाना हमारा मकसद है, और कुछ नहीं है। ओके, तो हाँ, किसी ने पूछा कौन सी किताबें पढ़ी जा रही हैं, तो किताबें हम 3 पढ़ रहे हैं। एक अभी मैम ने पढ़ी, वृंदा मैम ने पढ़ी, माई फैमिली एंड अदर एनिमल्स बाय जेरल्ड डरल। फिर अब मैं पढ़ूंगा ये किताब, ये है व्हाट यू आर लुकिंग फॉर इज इन द लाइब्रेरी। ये मिचिको आयोमा की किताब है। और फिर मनीषा मैम नॉर्मली पढ़ती हैं हर संडे को ये रस्किन बॉन्ड की किताब है, जो जिसमें हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन हुआ है। तो एक रस्किन बॉन्ड की किताब पढ़ती हैं आप। रस्किन बॉन्ड के बारे में सुना होगा, हमारे देश के, मतलब मेरे ख्याल में सबसे ज्यादा किताबें रस्किन बॉन्ड ने ही लिखी होंगी, मेरे को लगता है, बच्चों के लिए, जो इंडियन ऑथर हों। तो वो मसूरी में रहते हैं, और कोशिश करेंगे कि एक दिन हमारे बीच में आए। तो रस्किन बॉन्ड की किताब पढ़ती हैं मनीषा मैम, वो ख़त्म होने वाली है। लास्ट स्टोरी उसकी चल रही है बाघ के बारे में। हाँ। तो अब लेट्स मूव टू दिस माय बुक Sia, yeah, what you're looking for is in the library by Michiko Aoyama. तो बता दूं कि ये किताब में पांच चैप्टर थे, और पांचवा पढ़ रहे हैं हम। हर चैप्टर में अलग अलग व्यक्तियों के बारे में कहानियां हैं, और इस कहानी में भी हम कुछ पुराने जो पुरानी कहानियां आई उनसे मिल रहे हैं। जब पिछली बारी हम मिले थे टुमोका से, टुमोका पहली कहानी थी, वो स्टोर में काम करती ईडन में, और अभी ये यूरिका उनसे ड्रेस लेने गई थी मसाओ के साथ। तो ये जो पांचवी कहानी है ये मसाओ के बारे में है। मसाओ अभी रिटायर हुए हैं, ये 65 साल के हैं और रिटायर हुए हैं। जापान के टोक्यो में बेस्ड एक कहानी है। और वो जब रिटायर हुए हैं उनको कुछ लगा, 3 चीजें खास लगी। एक के उनको इनकी कोई हॉबी नहीं है। हॉबी वो चीज होती है जो आप अपनी फुर्सत में करते हैं, आप खाली समय में अपने आप करते हैं, अपनी मन से करते हैं, वो हॉबी होगी। हाँ, उनके पास कोई हॉबी नहीं थी तो उनको पता नहीं था समय कैसे बिताएं। फिर उनको उनको ये उनके जहन में आया कि उनके मतलब जो जो भी कनेक्ट थे वो सारे काम से रिलेटेड थे। एकदम से जब उनकी नौकरी नहीं रही क्योंकि रिटायर हो गए, तो सारे उनके जो भी कनेक्ट थे, उनको जो भी कुछ लोग बातचीत करते थे, चीजें भेजते थे, सब बंद हो गया। तो एकदम से उनको लगा कि जो उनका जो भी सोसाइटी में जगह थी वो उनके काम की वजह से थी, उनकी खुद के वजह से नहीं थी। और तीसरा एक और चीज थी जो उनको लगी थी, और मैं याद करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ वो क्या थी। अ, 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 चलो याद आ जाएगी कुछ देर में। पर अभी हम तो क्या हुआ है, तो जो उनकी वाइफ यूरिको उनको कहती हैं कि आप ये आपके पास समय है तो आप ये गो गेम सीख लो, मैंने आपके लिए ये क्लास का अरेंजमेंट करा हुआ है। तो वो कम्युनिटी सेंटर जाते हैं और वहाँ पे एक क्लास अटेंड करते हैं। गो 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 एक बोर्ड गेम है, जैसे जैसे हम हमारे यहाँ चेस है। गो एक वर्ड गेम है जो बहुत पुरानी है, चेस से भी पुरानी है दुनिया में। और और वहाँ पे फिर उनको देखते हैं कि लाइब्रेरी है, तो वो लाइब्रेरी में जाते हैं और लाइब्रेरी में साचिको जो है वहाँ पे वो उनको रेकमेंड करती हैं किताबें, थोड़ी आपस में बातचीत होती हैं। तो जो जो लाइब्रेरियन है वहाँ की, वो उनको एक हनी डोम कुकीज बहुत पसंद होती हैं, और ये मसाओ उसी कंपनी में काम करते थे। तो बातचीत शुरू हो जाती है। तो ये बताता है उनको कि मैं रिटायर हो गया हूँ और मेरे को बेसिकली अच्छा नहीं लग रहा और खास करने के लिए है नहीं। तो वो उनको एक किताब देती हैं पोइट्री की। तो वो पढ़ना उसको शुरू थोड़ा करते हैं, अलग सी लगती है पर उनको अच्छी लगती है किताब। हाँ। तो अभी क्या हुआ है कि उनकी वाइफ के साथ वो दुकान में गए हैं बिकॉज वाइफ को कुछ खरीदना था, और वो ईडन में जा रहे हैं जो स्टोर है जहाँ पे टोमोका काम करती है। ठीक है, तब आगे पढ़ते हैं। Yoriko purchases a dress and a cat print t-shirt, then suggests we go to the food hall to buy something for dinner. We go to the fish sections to choose sashimi. तो sashimi जापानीज स्टाइल खाना है। ये बेसिकली रॉ है, मीट हो सकता है, मच्छी हो सकती है जो जो जिसको पकाया नहीं गया है। तो जापान में वो खाते हैं। और पहले हमने पढ़ा हुआ है सुशी, जैसे वो एक और चीज पहले हमने पढ़ी हुई है, सुशी भी खाते हैं। हाँ। Alongside the glass cases filled with fish and shellfish, I spy a small stand. A movement inside it catches my eye, and I take a closer look. The plastic container is full of live river crabs, 50 or 60 of them, all mashed together in a small amount of water. Recalling the crab that Miss Komachi gave me, I gaze at the creatures a while to examine them. Some wave the small scissor claws attached to their flat bodies as if sending out signals. Then I raise my eyes to a signboard made from styrofoam that is pinned above the box and experience a sudden jolt. तो ये क्रैब आप समझते हैं क्रैब क्या है? क्रैब इज वो मच्छी की तरह होता है, हार्ड एक्सटीरियर होते हैं, और उसके जो पैर होते हैं वो समझा रहा है कि कैंची के तरह होते हैं। तो अलग अलग देश में अलग अलग खाना होता है। तो जापान में सशिमी और सुशी बहुत खाते हैं। और जैसे हमने यहाँ इंडिया में भी आप देखेंगे हर हर प्रांत की अलग अलग फेमस डिशेस होती हैं, है ना। तो ये मतलब ये हमारे मैं कहूँगा कि दुनिया का नियम है कि हर हर कौम जो है, हर हर जो प्रांत है, अपने उनके अपने खाने होते हैं। स्टायरोफोम, जो स्टायरोफोम अभी बात हुई, स्टायरोफोम एक्चुअली आई डिडंट रियलाइज कि ये डुपॉन्ट का ब्रांड नेम होता था। मैं डुपॉन्ट कंपनी में 11 साल मैंने काम किया हुआ है। और बहुत बार क्या होता है कि आप जिस तरह से ब्रांड नेम यूज हो रहा होता है, तो उस तरह से मतलब वो जेनेरिक नेम बन जाता है। जब मैं बहुत छोटा था तो ये टेरेलिन नई चीज आई थी, और टेरेलिन भी एक्चुअली ब्रांड नेम होता था। आईसीआई का ब्रांड नेम था, या हाँ, या डुपॉन्ट आईसीआई का ब्रांड नेम था। तो पॉलिएस्टर को टेरेलिन लोग कहते थे, तो सब हम बोलते हमको टेरेलिन चाहिए पैंट, टेरेलिन कमीज चाहिए। तो और जो नायलॉन है, नायलॉन शब्द है, ये भी डुपॉन्ट का ब्रांड नेम होता था, पर इतना यूज हुआ उस समय कि ये जेनेरिक बन गए। तो स्टायरोफोम भी ऐसे ही है। और स्टायरोफोम को हम एक और शब्द से जानते हैं। बेसिकली स्टायरोफोम से वो डिस्पोजेबल प्लेट ग्लासेस बनते हैं, जो अब बैन हो गए हैं, है ना। क्योंकि सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक से बहुत दिक्कत हो रही है और वो बैन हो गए। थर्मोकोल, जिसको हम जानते हैं, थर्मोकोल के नाम से जानते हैं, और अब आजकल बैन हो गए हैं। तो स्टायरोफोम वो है, तो वो स्टायरोफोम बोर्ड पे क्रैब्स के बारे में लिखा है। Below the word river crabs written prominently in red, in a line in similar black lettering that says, for deep frying, for pets. For pets? It is natural in the food section to expect that crabs would be sold for consumption. But when suddenly presented with the option of keeping them as a pet instead, I don't know what to think. Be eaten or be loved. A lump forms in my throat at the thought of the utterly different fates awaiting these crabs huddled together in the plastic box. When I worked for the company, what kind of crab was I wonder? While still inside the box, I was raised to be a manager, but ultimately wasn't my fate to be eaten up by the organization. At this point, Eureka, who has been inspecting sashimi all the while, suddenly turns to ask, shall we have horse, mackerel or sorry? ये मच्छियों के नाम हैं. Oh, look, there are crabs. What about those? She examines them with interest. No, I can barely squeeze the word out. No, they're still alive. We can't eat them. Would you like some to keep as pests? She jokes. How would that work? I think it through. Would the crabs be happy spending the rest of their lives in a boring, narrow case? Perhaps they would actually prefer to be part of the maelstrom in the food chain. Maelstrom is भागन भागी, आप समझ सकते हैं. It's a lot of activity. Right? Technically, it's like water going around, but in this context, it's like bhaga bhagi. A lot of hustle bustle. Or is it simply my human ego that dictates this way of thinking? So let me ask you, anybody here? So the book talks of taking crabs as pets. We've all heard of, thank you, केकड़ा, crab का मतलब होता है. We've all heard of people, cats and dogs as pets. Anybody has an unusual pet? Something which is not a cat or a dog? Anybody? Unusual pet? not a cat or a dog, unusual pet, or you've come across somebody who has an unusual pet. So when I got engaged to be married, and I went to visit my to be wife's house, she had a deer as a pet. And it was very, very unusual. She had a small deer as a pet in their house. I mean, it's a big house, so a lot of large spaces and all outside the house. So yeah, monkey, yeah. I think. Well, I mean, pets can be trained, right? Like you have many situations where a wild animal, if it grows up, in a different environment, they don't necessarily, you know, acquire the habits of wild animals, right? So there are many stories around that as well. The environment that you grow in shapes you a lot besides what your internal genes aside. So both contribute to how you turn out to be. So yeah, so monkeys, yeah, some people we've seen right. I mean on the streets in India, you've seen people showing monkey shows even with snakes. Uh, Fish are quite common, right? Many people have aquariums in their houses. Right? So yeah, unusual pets. Okay, so I remain silent when Yuriko's messaging app pings. Ah, it's Chie. Chie is their daughter. Yuriko skillfully manipulates the controls of the smartphone and has a chirpy exchange with Chie. Chirpy is lively. The book I ordered has arrived, she reports to me after hanging up. Why don't we forget about buying supper here and stop by Chia's shop instead? If she's on the early shift, she'll finish at 4 and we could all go out for dinner together. This suggestion cheers me slightly. Before we leave, I take another peep at the river crabs and say a prayer for their happiness, whatever that may be. Uh, One other thing I remember is that typically in the East, right, and I've been a lot to China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Many times in restaurants, when you go, they'll have live live fish, and you can sort of choose, and they'll pick those and make them for dinner for you or lunch. So that seems a little. Now that I'm vegetarian, it seems a little gross thing to do. But yeah, I mean, I've seen that happen a lot. And I remember there was a dish called drunken prawns, and where the prawns were actually brought live to the table and cooked in front of you. So these things happen, and people eat different things, right? In some countries, they eat dog. I was very surprised when I went to Australia. We all associate kangaroos with Australia. They eat kangaroos as well. Okay, let's go on. She, our daughter, and the only child, works for a chain store called Mason Books at a branch near the station. So she is the only child, and what we've been seeing over the last, I think, few decades is that the number of children uh, people are having are going down. Earlier, families used to be very large, बड़े families होती थी, है ना? अब छोटी हो रही हैं. कोई बताएगा क्या वजह है? What do you think is the reason? Why are families getting smaller? Why are people having less children? Any thoughts? क्यों हो रहा है ऐसा? Why are people having less children today versus earlier? Any thoughts? You can raise your hand, Sia will unmute you, or you can put in the chat. And this is a big problem in many countries, right? In Japan, Korea, population is actually going down. Many countries in Europe also, it's the exactly same problem. The actual population is going down.
So I think
In fact,
Rishika wants to talk.
yeah.
Uh, sir, sir, we can, sir, like if they have not that much sufficient food that they can make that much children eat or that type of something.
So, Rishika, the funny thing is that India was poorer earlier. The world was poorer earlier than it is today, right? But we had more children. What you're saying is very logical, right? That you have less, so you say, okay, we'll have less children. But actually, we were all poorer. The world was poorer. India was poorer. When the families were bigger, हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था इतनी अच्छी नहीं थी. जो हमारी एवरेज जीडीपी थी इंडिपेंडेंस के समय या उससे पहले आज से बहुत कम थी. पर पर तब बच्चे ज्यादा होते थे, फैमिलीज बड़ी होती थी, जॉइंट फैमिलीज होती थी, इकट्ठे रहते थे, बहुत अलग दुनिया थी वो. सो आप जो कह रही हैं इज वेरी लॉजिकल, बट आई डोंट थिंक दैट डेटा प्रूव्स दैट टू बी ट्रू. यस, चेतना मैम से चेंज इन लाइफस्टाइल, that's for sure. Change in lifestyle, change, in terms of how lives have become very busy in many countries now, and in India too. It's starting to happen. There are more and more women working. Uh, you know, People just think it's a huge effort and a commitment and money maybe to bring up children, and they're having less children. And this is true in India too. Uh, in Tamil Nadu, for example, the reproduction rate has gone down significantly. There also, the number of the locals are going down. In fact, in Andhra Pradesh, the chief minister announced a scheme for people who have more children. Yes. So let's see what is the other answer that's come, because everyone is living separately, and in the earlier time, everyone lives in a joint family. Now everyone is living in different places. In earlier time, people live in one place, like all relatives and every member of the family live in one house. Yes, that was the model earlier, especially in India, the joint family, and now that's all changed. And I guess the responsibilities have become more focused on the parents you know, rather than uh, how everybody used to be, right? All cousins living together. The saying was सब पल जाते थे, कुछ करना नहीं पड़ता था, but अब responsibility अलग हो गई है. That's true. Nuclear families makes a difference, and yeah, things are more expensive, so it is more expensive. So okay, so let's go ahead. Shia, our daughter and the only child, works for a chain store called Mason Books at a branch near the station. She's 27 years old and single. After graduating from college, she joined the company as a contract employee and left home at the same time. She lives on her own in an apartment. Yuriko visits the bookshop quite frequently for one reason or another, but I rarely do. I feel uncomfortable with the idea of a parent sniffing around their child's place of work. So, how do you all feel? Oh, happy birthday, Satyam. Happy birthday. A good friend of mine's birthday today also. So, happy birthday, Satyam. Will you tell us what are you going to do today? What is happening in your house? Please put it in the chat or get yourself unmuted and tell us what is your plan today. Please write in the chat or raise your hand and Sia will unmute you, and you can tell us what your plan is today. Okay. But meanwhile, study for exams. Yes, the exams are coming up soon. So yes, unfortunately, but exams are, part of life. Satya, I do party with my friend Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So, I feel uncomfortable with the idea of parents sniffing around their child's place of work, right? So, you know, this is something that as children get older, they don't really. I mean, they don't like when parents are especially like trying to look into their phones and things like that. So I don't know if you all have faced that. What do you think about that? Any thoughts of how you think about this? Parents interfering in your life, or what you like, what you don't like in this area. Any thoughts? Anybody? Any thoughts? Okay, you can think about it and put it in the chat. Let's go on. When we arrived, Chie is out on the shop floor attending to a customer. Yuriko and I watched from a distance as the elderly woman quizzes Chie, whose face wears an expression we don't see at home, a gentle, open smile that nevertheless comes across as sharp and focused. The old woman gives a satisfied nod, then bows and takes a book over to the till. So, Japanese, it's a big thing in Japan. You greet somebody, when you say bye to somebody, you bow. Right? While seeing off the customer, Chie catches sight of us. She is wearing a white collared shirt and a dark green work apron. There is no uniform apart from these dress requirements. With her short, neat haircut, the outfit suits her. I made this display, she says, when we go over to her. The point of purchase display consists of a postcard sized card placed beside a row of copies of the same book, arranged face out. The card shows the book title and a concise, lively summary of the contents. When Yuriko praises her work, Chie looks proud. These POP, point of purchase displays, are so important. They can really make a difference to sales, right? So I've been in the retail business, and I know, what she is saying. Anybody, what a point of purchase material is? Can you give me an example? Point of purchase material. What is a point of purchase material? Anybody, what is point of purchase material? Give me an example of a point of purchase material. Anybody? Point of purchase material, right? I mean, you can think of a mannequin as well as a point of purchase material. You go to a clothes shop, you see this mannequin dressed up in nice clothes, right? It's giving you ideas, right? To buy those things, see how they actually look on people, right? So that gives people ideas that. And many times in a retail store, or especially in supermarkets, small things which are convenience things are placed near the checkout counter. So you get reminded to buy those things, right? You'll always see small things which are inexpensive lying there, right? Sometimes they could, I mean, the old days there used to be a lot of chewing gum, there could be chocolates, there could be sweets, small things which are lying there to. So retail, like everything else, there's a science behind it, and depending on people's behavior. After the incident with the river crabs, I can certainly believe it. If it hadn't been for that sign, I never would have given a second thought to the fate of those crabs. So, if you remember, the question, the store had said crabs, you can buy them to eat them, or you can take them away as pets. What do you think will make the crabs really happy? What do you think? What do you think will make the crabs really happy? What are your thoughts? Right, two options you got there. Eaten up or a pet. Right. जो क्रैब है, जो केकड़ा है, उसको किससे सबसे ज्यादा खुशी मिलेगी? तो इसको खा ले, उसको घर ले जाए पेट के लिए, या कोई और चीज? हाँ जी, आई एग्री सत्यम, दैट्स व्हाट आई थिंक आल्सो। अगर उनको समुद्र में वापस फेंक दिया जाए, छोड़ दिया जाए समुद्र में, जिससे वो आजाद हों, मेरे को भी लगता है उससे उनको सबसे ज्यादा खुशी मिलेगी। Okay. So, what time do you finish? Eureka asks. If it's early, how about going out for dinner with us? Chia shakes her head. I'm on the late shift today. Besides, I have to help set up for an event. Working in a bookshop is physically demanding. Besides standing up all day, the staff must handle stock, which can be heavy, and deal with all manner of tasks and inquiries from customers. I had heard through Eureka that one of Chia's colleagues had been hospitalized due to a work-related back injury. I worry about her. Be careful, don't injure yourself, I tell her. Chia shakes her. Don't worry. Tomorrow's my day off. Chia reassures me. She looks happy. Day off? That reminds me of one more thing I've learned since retiring. If you don't work, there are no days off. Never again will I enjoy the anticipation of freedom and never again will I enjoy the anticipation of freedom and feeling of release at the thought of taking time off work. साढ़े 12 तक होती है प्रतिमा, थोड़ा आगे पीछे हो जाता है। तो मसाव कह रहा है कि जब वो काम कर रहा होता था तो वीकेंड का उसको बहुत एंटिसिपेशन होता था, वो मतलब खुशी होती थी कि सैटरडे संडे आ रहा है, छुट्टी आ रही है। पर अब सारे दिन एक साथ बराबर हैं, तो वो उससे छूट गया है। तो आप लोग, काफी लोग सोशल मीडिया यूज करते होंगे, तो उसमें वो जिस कॉन्सेप्ट पे बना है एक्चुअली बहुत पुराना 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 कॉन्सेप्ट है। एक्चुअली 60-70 साल पुराना कॉन्सेप्ट है। अब आप अगर जब स्क्रॉल करते होगे तो आपको लगेगा कि कोई चीजें अच्छी हैं, इंटरेस्टिंग है, कोई चीजें नहीं है, और यही चीज है जो आपको वापस लेके जाती है। तो बहुत साल पहले, मेरे को नाम भूल रहा है, जिन्होंने ये एक्सपेरिमेंट किया था, मेरे ख्याल से कबूतरों के साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट ये किया था, और ये इसी बेसिस पे ये आजकल जो एल्गोरिथम लिखे जा रहे हैं बड़ी कंपनियों के, इस बेसिस पे लिखे जा रहे हैं, आपकी एंटिसिपेशन बढ़ाते हैं। तो एंटिसिपेशन में डोपामीन रिलीज होती है, जो हार्मोन है, जिससे हम जब एक्साइटमेंट फील करते हैं, वो एंटिसिपेशन से आती है। और सारा ये सोशल मीडिया का मॉडल ये एंटिसिपेशन पे निर्भर है, और एक्चुअली ये करीब 60-70 साल पुराना मॉडल है। ये जो एक्सपेरिमेंट हुए हैं उस बेसिस पे ये चलता है। तो ये जैसे कह रहा है मसाओ कि उसको एंटिसिपेशन होती थी, उसको खुशी होती थी कि वीकेंड आ रहा है, और अब सब दिन एक साथ है, एक से हैं। Chia turns to Eureka. You came to get the book, right? Yes. And I want to pick up some magazines. Wait here while I get them. Eureka strides over to the magazine section, and I wonder if I should buy something too. But there is nothing I can think of what I want. On the spur of the moment, I say to Chie, whereabouts are the poetry books? Her eyes grow wide. Right? Eyes grow. When do your eyes grow wide? Can you tell me, when do your eyes grow wide? What is happening when your eyes grow wide? What is happening? What is happening inside you when your eyes grow wide? What does it suggest? What is the emotion inside you when your eyes are growing wide? What is the emotion? आप अगर आपकी आंखें बाहर हो रही हैं, glad no, not glad, something else, not glad. When you feel glad, your eyes light up. Sad no. Sad is the opposite of light up. So then you feel downcast. Eyes feel a little low. Your eyebrows may droop. Surprise, yes. When you're surprised, that's when your eyes grow wide. Okay. Poetry books. Who, for example? Shinpei Kusano. Chie's face lights up. I like his poetry too. It was in our elementary school textbook. There was one that went, Keru Ron Kuku. That would be Song of Spring. Yes, it is. Not bad, Dad. Feeling pleased with myself, I followed Chie over to the children's section where I find the copy of Genge and Frogs. So Genge and Frogs is the book that Sayuri Komachi, the librarian, recommended for Masao, and he picked it up and he's been reading it. I turn the pages until I come to Kajika. Do you know what the title of this one means? What is a Kajika? I'm sure it's a type of frog, a singing frog. Aha, mystery solved. It was a frog after all. The teacher taught us some other poems by Shinpei Kusano. That's how I know the title of the book, Genge and Genge means lotus fruit. So that's what it means. I have to say his poems sometimes confuse me. With poetry, you don't have to worry too much about the finer nuances of meaning. Nuances is just मतलब अंदर और मतलब डीप जाना समझने के लिए. तो ये आपको वो क्या कह रही है कि पोइट्री के साथ आपको उतना डीप नहीं जाना पड़ता. Just enjoy the feel or sound of a poem as you read it. Imagine it however you like. Okay, so कविता पढ़ते समय आप अपने दिमाग में सोचिए आपको क्या समझ आ रहा है और वही मतलब आपके लिए वही है. सो आपको इतना उलझने की जरूरत नहीं है. जो आप पढ़ो आपको क्या समझ आ रहा है उसका ही मजा लो. ये कह रही है Chie. Yoriko arrives back and I return the book to the shelf. This looks great, she says, holding up the thick magazine in her hands. I want the bonus gift bag that comes with it. This bonus gift pack between the pages is the reason the magazine is so thick. I remember my own bonus gift in my waist pouch pocket and open it to look. The red crab peeks out from inside. So, Sayuri Komachi ने जो भी ये 5 कहानियां हमने पढ़ी हैं, जो भी उनके किताब की रिकमेंडेशन के लिए जाता है, उनको एक गिफ्ट बोनस गिफ्ट देती है. तो मसाओ को क्रैब मिला था. Oh, it's a crab, Chie exclaims. For some reason, her cheeks flush. Hey, would you like it? She takes it in her hand, looking pleased. My heart melts at the sight. If such things can happen, can make her happy, then she is indeed still a child. In the end, Yuriko and I go out for dinner by ourselves. When we arrive home, I go to the spare room and open up Genj and frogs again. Now I know what a kajika that I know that a kajika is a type of frog. The poem is rather charming. A frog croaking makes complete sense, but the other lines, the ones that aren't, sorry, the sound of a frog croaking with joy at the return of spring seem profound. So मेंढक जो होता है जापान में उसका महत्व होता है हाँ, क्योंकि वो स्प्रिंग में आते हैं तो उनको ये रिन्यूअल समय है स्प्रिंग का स्प्रिंग से आपको क्या लगता है स्प्रिंग कब आती है और स्प्रिंग में क्या होता है कोई बताएगा व्हाट हैपेंस इन स्प्रिंग व्हाट हैपेंस इन स्प्रिंग व्हाट इज नाइस अबाउट स्प्रिंग spring when is spring and what is nice about spring anybody tell us spring
The Falesh would like to speak, so I'm unmuting him.
right. New plants start growing. Yes, absolutely. Flowers come. Flowers come.
Sir, I am saying that spring season comes after the winter in about February to March, and the plants grow up in that season.
Very correct. Plants grow up, and cycle of many animals is that birds are hatched, and because their long days have become longer and there's more food around, so many birds are hatched, many animals are born around at that time. So spring is it's like it signifies hope, right, and renewal. So that's why it is recognized as a very special time in Japan, and frogs also come out then. In fact, I was reading that there are some temples which have uh, frog statues in Japan as well. And what is the season we are going to head into now? What do you call it? The season we are going to head into now, right? After the monsoon, what comes? What will come? Before winter, what is that season called? And what happens in that season? What is the season we're going to head into now? What is it called and what happens? Anybody? Autumn. Thank you, Rhythm Ma'am. Autumn, yes. And what happens in autumn? Anything? Anybody remembers what happens in autumn? Anything? What happens in autumn? Leaves fall. Yes, leaves fall. And in certain places, the leaves turn, uh, orangish color. And I remember many years ago, I was in the state of Maine in the US in this time. It's a very, very beautiful time, in autumn because all the trees' leaves have turned orange. It's a very, very pretty time. Right? Yes, and they leave dry and they fall off trees. Why does this happen? What is the reason? Anybody? Why does this happen? What is the reason? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? You all must have read it. Why is this happening? Why does this happen? Why does that happen?
But the autumn season is happening because of Earth's tilt and the path around sun.
Because of?
Path around sun.
Yeah, so what happens is that extra warmth is not the reason, but the cold is coming, right? So for the tree to survive in winter is very difficult. It's not easy to make food for the tree in winter, right? So if it drops the leaves, it stops water loss, saves energy, and protects the tree. And so that's the reason. Okay, it's just a survival mechanism, and then back in spring, they've come back. Okay. I still don't fully understand what night caught in the borderline of flicker of gills means, but in the darkness of night, an image of dripping water unfolds in my mind, like something, the universe perhaps, shining as it flaps open and shut with the receding echo of the strange, sad cry of frogs in the background. Oh, I did it. That was fun. If this is what poetry appreciation is all about, I quite enjoy it. Maybe I do have a smattering of talent in that direction. Smattering means a little bit. I continue browsing in a leisurely way until another poem catches my eye. Leisurely is Aram Singh. The title is Window, and for this collection, it is unusually long. Waves draw close, waves pull back, waves lick at old stone walls. In the sunless cove, waves draw close, waves pull back. Wooden clogs, scraps of straw, streaks of oil. Clogs are types of footwear. Clogs, straw, and oil. So this scene is describing the man-made debris caused by human beings washing up in a sunless cove. And the sun and the lines, waves draw close, waves pull back, are repeated numerous times throughout the poem. Aha, I see what's happening. The poem itself builds an image of the movement of waves. Waves traveling from distant open seas reach the cove. Cove is like a small inlet on the seashore, and draw close and then pull back. They come and they go, evoking an image of vast oceans. The waves draw close, the waves pull back. And yet, I still don't completely understand why is the poem called Window? It only describes, so why is it window and not waves? But there is more to the poem. In the second half, which also has descriptions of waves, words like love, hatred, and corruption appear. I read each line carefully through to the end. Then I copy the entire 3-page poem into my notebook and read it again and again. What's the time? 11:56. Maybe I should stop. Maybe read a little more. Let me read a little more. When Monday comes, I don't feel like attending the Go class again, but balk at wasting money. Balk is you don't feel good about. Today will be the last time I decide. While getting ready to go out, I remember Yuriko's comment about Mr. Ebigawa's stylish cat. Perhaps I should try and be stylish too. I wish I could ask Yuriko where the hats are kept, but she has gone out. Searching through the closet, I find stuffed in a corner a black cap that I received as a freebie some years ago. This will do. I pull it on my head and depart. When I reach Hattori Elementary School, the sound of children's cheerful voices echoes from the schoolyards as I pass by the main gate and walk along the fence. I stop to look over into the yard. The children are probably in third or fourth grade and appear to be having a sports class. My heart warms at the sight of them all doing warm up exercises in their short sleeved shirts and shorts. What a shining sight. Chia used to be that young once too. Whenever I went on school observation days, she would look around eagerly and mouth the word daddy silently when she caught sight of me. It used to make me happy. Ah, time goes by so fast. Children don't stay little for very long. At the moment I become aware I am being watched and turn my head to see a young policeman observing me sharply. I look away and go to walk off, but he calls out, "Excuse me." He is making me nervous, though I have done nothing wrong. Pretending not to hear, I walk faster. "Wait, stop!" His loud voice startles me so much I tremble. I've never been spoken to by a young man in such a manner before. I stop and stand stiffly in my tracks. The policeman approaches and says sternly, "You were trying to run away, weren't you, Grandpa?" Grandpa? This completely knocks the wind out of my sails, meaning it's like a big shock. Am I already an old man in the eyes of others? The policeman fixes me with a steady gaze. Now I remember, मेरे को याद आ गया दूसरी चीज जो मसाव ने कही थी when he realized he became 65 कि 65 इतना बूढ़ा नहीं होता. ये उसका दूसरा realization था कि 65 इतना बूढ़ा नहीं होता. That is why अभी उसको आश्चर्य हो रहा है कि वो मेरे को grandpa बुला रहा है. I'd like to answer a few questions. What's your name? Struggling to pull myself together, I managed to answer. Gono, Masao Gono. Occupation? I say nothing. What can I say? I have no occupation. I'm unemployed. That is the answer I'm obliged to give. And my head droops dejectedly at the thought. Show me your ID, the policeman demands. Show me your ID, I repeat, putting my hand inside my waist pouch. A sinking feeling comes over me. The driver's license and health card that I usually carry are not in there. Today I left home with only a coin purse since I was not going far. The policeman sees my stunned expression and asks, "What's wrong?" He comes a step closer. In the end, Yuriko came and got me after I called her on my smartphone. Thank goodness she was home by then. I was immediately let go once she arrived with her driving license and spoken capably to and spoke capably to the policeman. So basically, he was taken to the police station because he wasn't able to answer the policeman properly. After that, I was in no mood for go anymore. Besides, the class was almost over, so we set off walking for home. That policeman was rude, but you weren't any help. Yuriko chides me. Chides me, gussa karna, scolding. Why were you so afraid? Because it was a shock to be treated like a criminal all of a sudden. All I was doing was watching the children and thinking how cute they are. Oh, really? Yuriko frowns. Think about that for a moment. If a man dressed like that is standing around in the middle of the day grinning at children, he's bound to attract suspicion. Children are the target of all sorts of crimes nowadays, right? And you all also have to be very careful, especially online. What do you mean? Dressed like that? My attire is perfectly normal, not to mention my stylish cap. Yuriko points at my head. That cap, to begin with, is pulled down too far over your eyes and makes you look extremely suspicious. This? Surely not. And that tatty old polo t shirt and sweatshirt are hardly respectable for going out. It's exactly what you wear at home. Lowering her voice, she adds, I don't know why you have to wear your work shoes with a sweatshirt anyway. Because these leather shoes that I use to wear for work are worn in and comfortable, far more so than a brand new pair of sneakers. I want to tell her. And I'm going in and out of a tatami room where the broadcast is held, and they are much easier to put on and off. Does clothing determine if a person looks suspicious? Would I attract attention today if I'd been wearing a suit? In trepidation, I asked Yuriko this. Are leather shoes with sweatshirts so terrible? Trepidation is like when you're very you're a little anxious about what is happening. Yeah, and it could be actually a little bit of like a shivering feeling also. You would need a very advanced fashion sense to be able to pull that off, she says dryly. It suddenly dawns on me that Yuriko does not like my taste in clothes. I remember the numerous occasions when I put out a shirt in readiness to wear, and somehow another one mysteriously appears in its place. And the times Yuriko has asked me in a roundabout way if I really like my waist pouch. She has never said outright that I have a bad taste, but if she is barely managing to tolerate it, but if she, like Miss Yakita's ex wife, the word divorce suddenly flashes through my mind. So, this is a typical case of an expression, that was there when we were small. I don't know if it's there now. Uh, an idle man's brain is a devil's workshop, right? So because he doesn't have that much to do, he's thinking too much, and now he thinks that his wife doesn't like the way he dresses, and Yakita talked about divorce, and suddenly he's thinking of divorce, right? So it's it's because he has nothing to do, he's not busy, and that happens to many of us, right? If you're not busy, you think of too many things. Sometimes they're not necessary. In any case, the worst thing you can do is run away from a policeman. I didn't run away, he just thought I did. I remember him calling me grandpa and start to feel depressed again. Perhaps it's not a good idea to tell Yuriko about that. I looked down at my leather shoes in dejection. Okay, so we'll stop here. गुलाबी मैम आप हैं ready to read? जी गुलाबी मैम, are you there ready to read? Okay, while we wait for Gulabee ma'am, let me ask you, do you sometimes have this problem of what clothes you wear, you choose to wear, and what your parents think about those? Does anybody have that problem? Uh, Difference of opinion between the clothes to wear, जो आप पहन रहे हो, आपके पेरेंट्स आप सहमत नहीं हैं, या आप वो कहते हैं कि ये पहनो, आपको अच्छा नहीं लगता, ये नहीं पहनना, मैंने ये पहनना है, ये होता है आपके साथ? Gulabee ma'am, are you there? हाँ जी, मीनवाइल बताइए, ये होता है आपके साथ? हाँ, तो बताओ क्या हुआ? सत्यम बताओ, व्हाट हैपेंस? कलर में होता है, स्टाइल में होता है, कहाँ पे होता है? पहले तो जब मैं छोटा था, कभी फैशन बहुत बदलता था। जब मैं छोटा, अब मेरे को लगता है इतना बदलता नहीं है। जब मैं स्कूल में था तो ये बेल बॉटम का फैशन आया था, आई रिमेम्बर. So I remember parents in general didn't like their children to wear such flared pants. That used to be one thing. Then बालों को लेके होता था काफी लोगों के साथ. हाँ जी गुलाबी मैम. हाँ, कलर एंड स्टाइल ऑल्सो.
यस सर, जय हिंद सर।
जय हिंद, जय हिंद.
कैमरा नहीं आ रहा है।
हाँ जी, कैमरा डजंट मैटर, कैमरा नहीं आए डजंट मैटर, आवाज आनी चाहिए आप.
जी सर।
तो ये सिया जस्ट शेयर द हिंदी बुक या? हाँ जी गुलाबी मैम, पढ़िए. नहीं, आवाज नहीं आ रही.
जी सर, आ गया। दो दोपहर का समय हो चला था जब बाघ आखिरकार खुले में दिखाई दिया। वह रात के अंधेरे और सुरक्षा के लिए तरस रहा था, क्योंकि सूरज उसका दुश्मन था। कुंदन और लड़के उस पे स्पष्ट रूप से देख सकते थे, क्योंकि वह धीरे धीरे आगे बढ़ रहा था। अब खुले में उसके चमकदार पहलू पर सूरज चमक रहा था। वह अब छाया में या छोटे सरकंडों से होकर गुजर रहा था। वह अब भी कुंदन की बंदूक की जद से बाहर था, लेकिन अब शोर मचाने वालों के घेरे से उसे बाहर होने का कोई डर नहीं था, क्योंकि गांव के बहुत से लोग उनमें शामिल हो गए थे। वह बहुत वह कुछ झाड़ियों के बीच गायब हो गया, लेकिन जल्द ही वहीं पर फिर से नजर आया। ढोल बजाने वालों ने उसका काम अच्छी तरह से किया। वह अब चट्टानों से केवल 150 गज की दूरी पर था, जहां कुंदन सिंह इंतजार कर रहा था, और वह बहुत बड़ा दिखाई दे रहा था। सर, पेज चेंज। घेरा और नजदीक आ गया, और नदी के तट की ओर जाने का रास्ता पूरी तरीके से बंद कर दिया गया था। इसलिए बाघ सरकंडों के झुरमुट की ओर मुड़ा। कुंदन सिंह को उम्मीद थी कि उसका सिर जल्द ही कुछ गज की दूरी पर सरकंडों से बाहर निकलेगा। ढोल पीटने वाले अब बहुत शोर कर रहे थे। वे चिल्ला चिल्ला कर अपने ढोल पीट रहे थे, लेकिन बाघ नजर नहीं आया। दूर से यह सब देख रहे रामू ने सोचा, ढोल पीटने वालों के घेरे के बीच से कहीं बाघ निकल तो नहीं गया। उसे इसकी आधी उम्मीद थी। तीन और ढोल और जोर जोर से बजने लगे, और कुछ लोगों ने अपने भालों या लंबे बांसों से सरकंडों को छेदना शुरू कर दिया। शायद उनमें से एक निशाने पर लगा, क्योंकि आखिर बाघ ऊपर उठा और गुस्से में हताश कर्कश दहाड़ के साथ उसने सरकंडों से बाहर निकलने की कोशिश की। उसने कीचड़ और पानी के बीच से अपना रास्ता बना लिया। कुंदन सिंह ने गोली चलाई और उसकी गोली बाघ की जांघ में जा लगी। ताकतवर जानवर लड़खड़ा गया, लेकिन वह 1 मिनट में ही उठ भी गया और ढोल बजाने वालों के सकरे घेरे को तोड़कर वह सीधे नदी के पार जाने के एकमात्र रास्ते झूला पुल की ओर लपका। यह पुल यहाँ गंगा के ऊपर से गुजरता है और ऊंची पहाड़ियों तक पहुंचने का रास्ता देता है। हम उसे छोड़ेंगे नहीं, कुंदन ने अपनी बंदूक फिर से भरते हुए कहा। वह एकदम खुले में है। झूलता हुआ पुल हिल गया और कांपने लगा, क्योंकि घायल बाघ लपक कर उस पर आ गया था। कुंदन ने गोली चलाई और इस बार गोली बाघ के कंधे में लगी। वह आगे की ओर झुका। लहराते पुल के अनजान और फिसलन वाले तख्तों पर उसके कदम जम नहीं पाए और वह एक ओर को फिसल गया। वह नदी के तेज बहाव में सिर के बल जा गिरा। वह एक बार नदी की सतह पर उठा, लेकिन धारा उसे नीचे और दूर ले गई और नदी की सतह पर केवल खून की एक पतली लकीर रह गई। कुंदन और बाकी लोग यह देखने के लिए जल्दी से नीचे के किनारे पर पहुंचे कि क्या मृत बाघ नदी में बह गया था। लेकिन नदी के किनारे किनारे कई मील तक खोजने पर भी उसे जंगल का रास्ता नहीं मिला। बाघ उसके हाथ में नहीं आया था, न तो उसकी चमड़ी किसी काट पर बिछाई जाएगी और न उसका सिर किसी दीवार से टांगा जाएगा। उसका कोई पंजा भी किसी दीवार पर नहीं लटका होगा। उसके पंजे का कोई नाखून किसी बच्चे के गले में ताबीज के रूप में नहीं लटकाया जाएगा। कोई ग्रामीण गठिया के इलाज के लिए उसकी वसा का इस्तेमाल नहीं करेगा। पहले तो ग्रामीण खुश हुए, क्योंकि उन्हें लगा कि अब उसकी भैंसें सुरक्षित हैं। फिर उन्हें लगा कि उनके जंगल के जीवन से कुछ निकल गया। उन्हें लगने लगा कि जंगल अब जंगल नहीं रहा। यह साल दर साल सिकुड़ता जा रहा था। लेकिन जब तक बाघ था तो ग्रामीणों ने रात में उसकी दहाड़ सुनी थी। वे जानते थे कि वे तब तक घुसपैठियों और नए लोगों से सुरक्षित थे, जो पेड़ों के काटने, जमीन हड़पने और बाढ़ का पानी गांव में भर जाने के लिए आते थे। लेकिन अब जब बाघ चला गया था तो ऐसा लगा जैसे जंगल को खुला और कमजोर, आसानी से नष्ट होने लायक छोड़कर कोई रक्षक चला गया हो। और एक बार जंगल को नष्ट हो जाने के बाद वे भी खतरे में पड़ जाएंगे। एक और चीज थी जो बाघ के साथ चली गई थी। एक और चीज थी जो खो दी गई थी। एक और चीज थी जो हर जगह खोई जा रही थी, जिसे बड़कपन कहा जाता था। रामू को एक बात याद आई कि उसके दादा ने उसे एक बार कहा था, बाघ भारत की आत्मा है और जब आखिरी बाघ चला जाएगा तो देश की आत्मा भी चली जाएगी। लड़के मिट्टी के अपने छोटे से टापू पर पेट के बल लेट गए और मानसून के बादलों को अपने सिर के ऊपर इकट्ठा होते हुए देखते रहे। नेक्स्ट, हमारे जंगल का राजा मर गया, श्याम ने कहा। अब यहाँ कोई और बाघ नहीं है, यहाँ बाघ होंगे। रामू बोला, बाघों के बिना भारत कैसे हो सकता है। नदी बाघ को उसके ठिकाने से, उस जंगल से जिसे वह हमेशा से जानता था, कई मील दूर ले गई थी और उसे गर्म पीले रेत की एक पट्टी पर लाकर छोड़ दिया था। जहां वह धूप में लेटा था वह काफी शांत था, लेकिन सांस ले रहा था। गिद्ध इकट्ठे हो गए और कुछ दूरी पर इंतजार करने लगे। उनमें से कुछ पास के पेड़ों की शाखाओं पर बैठ गए, लेकिन बाघ चोट से ज्यादा पानी से डूबा हुआ था और जैसे ही नदी का पानी उसके मुंह से निकला, वह गर्म सूरज ने उसके शरीर में नई जान डाली। तो वह हिला, उसके शरीर नेक्स्ट ने एक जुम्बिश ली और उसकी चमकीली आंखें खुली नजर आई। सिर उठाकर उसने पेड़ों और लंबी घास को देखा। धीरे धीरे उसने अपने आप को ऊपर उठाया और एक ढलवा जगह पर चला गया, जहां दोपहर की हवा में घास लहरा रही थी। क्या उसे फिर से परेशान किया जाएगा और गोली मार दी जाएगी? वहां इंसान की कोई गंध नहीं थी। बाघ ज्यादा आत्मविश्वास के साथ आगे बढ़ा। हालांकि हवा में एक और गंध भी थी, एक गंध जो उस समय तक पहुंच गई जब वह जवान, ताजा और जोश से भरा हुआ था। एक गंध जिसे वह लगभग भूल कर भी कभी न भूल सका था। एक बाघिन की गंध। उसने अपना सिर ऊंचा उठाया और उसके थके हुए अंगों में एक नया जीवन उमड़ पड़ा। उसने पूरा गला खोल कर दहाड़ लगाई और एक उद्देश्य से लंबी घास पर आगे चलता चला गया। और उसके पास जवाबी दहाड़ आई जो उसे अपने पास बुला रही थी। इस दहाड़ का मतलब था कि धरती पर और बाघ होंगे। सब
ये बुक खत्म हो गई अब।
जी बिल्कुल, धरती पे और बाघ होंगे।
जी
That
सर।
is the end of the story.
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू मैम। आपने कहानी हमारे लिए खत्म की। थैंक यू सो मच। तो कोई कहानी के बारे में कोई सवाल, कोई टिप्पणी? काफी लंबी चली है कहानी, काफी लंबी चली वाली। कोई किसी का कोई कहना इसकी कहानी के बारे में, कोई कमेंट? किस तरह से खत्म हुई, आपको अच्छा लगा, नहीं अच्छा लगा, क्या आपको कहेगा इसके बारे में? चलिए, सो रिफ्लेक्ट करिएगा फिर। अगर आप अभी बता नहीं रहे हैं तो मेरे को पता है कि सनबीम स्कूल इसके बारे में, कहानी के बारे में स्पेसिफिकली काफी लिख रहे हैं, तो उम्मीद करता हूँ कि वो और भी लिखेंगे। मन
जी
को
सर।
छूने वाली है, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। श्वेता ने कहा, हाँ बिल्कुल, मन को छूने वाली कहानी है। थैंक यू फॉर दैट। तो उम्मीद करता हूँ कि रिफ्लेक्शंस आएंगी इस कहानी के बारे में भी। आपने काफी भेजी हैं सनबीम, स्पेशली ग्रामीण से। तो थैंक यू गुलाबी मैम फॉर रीडिंग आउट सो ब्यूटिफुली। फिर यहाँ पे हम समाप्त करते हैं। हाँ, ऋषिका कुछ कहना चाहती हैं, वो बोलो ऋषिका।
Sir, so this story is about a tiger. So we can. This was so good story. And how how can India? How if we don't if there is no tigers in India? So how India is not there? How is it?
So no, many years ago, uh, the Project Tiger was started, right? Where the idea of what behind Project Tiger was to increase the number of tigers in India. And officially, at least, the belief is that it's been very successful, and the number of tigers have gone up in India, right? Uh, so, I mean, as a program, it's been successful, and tigers have. I mean, the number of tigers have been going up in India. So, Project Tiger has been very successful, and in fact, I came across, a few weeks ago, and if I remember right, the person who started Project Tiger. So it's been a successful program, but the problems remain about man eat, गोइंग इनटू जंगल में हम जंगल की जगह हम बिल्डिंग बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जंगल कम हो रहे हैं, तो जहाँ पे एनिमल्स रहने का स्थान है वो कम हो रहा है, तो ये दिक्कत है। हमारे को खाना चाहिए, हमको रहने की जगह चाहिए, शहर छोटे पड़ रहे हैं, तो हम और जंगल में जाके जंगल खत्म कर रहे हैं, तो ये इशू है। अगर हम ऐसा करेंगे तो एनिमल कहाँ जाएंगे, तो ये आज के दिन में बहुत बहुत बड़ा सवाल है। बट ओवरऑल टाइगर्स के नंबर बढ़ रहे हैं इंडिया में। एनीथिंग एल्स? Baker's dozen 13 again next Sunday? No, I think we've got our books chosen. We'll go based on that right now. If you have any thoughts, we can certainly look at it, look to take them into consideration. जनसंख्या नियंत्रण भी जरूरी है। जनसंख्या नियंत्रण, हाँ आप कह सकते हैं, बट इंडिया में अब जनसंख्या की आई मीन बेसिकली प्रेशर बहुत है, पर बढ़ने की अब ज्यादा नहीं बढ़ रही है जैसे पहले बढ़ती थी। दुनिया के मुकाबले बढ़ रही है, बट क्योंकि सब जगह, जैसे चाइना में भी मेरे ख्याल कम होनी शुरू हो गई है, इफ आई रिमेम्बर राइट। तो इंडिया सब जनसंख्या दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा है, पर इतनी ज़बरदस्त प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, पर हाँ हमारी फिजिकली बहुत ज़्यादा है। और जैसे इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन बढ़ रही है, लोगों को ज़्यादा अच्छे घर चाहिए। आई थिंक प्रॉब्लम उससे रिलेटेड है कि इतनी जनसंख्या के लिए इतना आपको चाहिए। अभी दिल्ली का मास्टर प्लान आया था, तो मैं तो उसको हेडलाइन देख के चकित रह गया कि इतने ज़्यादा लोग और होंगे दिल्ली में, इतने ज़्यादा और बिल्डिंग चाहिए। तो बातचीत हो रही है मल्टी स्टोरी बिल्डिंग की, दिल्ली में बड़ी बड़ी स्काई स्क्रेपर बनेंगे दिल्ली में। तो मतलब मैं तो दिल्ली में इतने साल से रह रहा हूँ, तो मेरे को तो मतलब चकित हो गया कि दिल्ली में इतने सारे स्काई स्क्रेपर बनेंगे। तो बस यही है आजकल, यही इशू रहता है कि पॉपुलेशन काफ़ी है और इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन बढ़ रहे हैं, और हम इस वजह से अपने लिए जगह ढूंढ रहे हैं और जानवरों की जगह ले रहे हैं। तो ये इशू है, बहुत बड़ा इशू है। कैसे साथ में रह सकें, ये तरीका भी किसी ने ठीक से ढूंढा नहीं है। मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आप, हमारे जो बच्चे हैं आजकल, वो इसका कोई तरीका ढूंढेंगे। अर्जित, हाँ जी बताइए।
जी सर, इसका सबसे बड़ा रीजन है जो जनसंख्या इतनी तेजी से बढ़ रही है और हमारे रहने योग्य जमीन कम पड़ रही है, तो हम जंगल की ओर जा रहे हैं और जंगलों को काट रहे हैं। तो जंगली जीव नष्ट होते जा रहे हैं, और जंगली जीव हमारे इन्वायरमेंट के लिए, इकोसिस्टम के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। अगर ये नष्ट होंगे तो फिर हमारे जो है वो पर्यावरण संतुलन भी बिगड़ेगा, तो उससे हमें को नुकसान होगा। बहुत तरीके की जैसे प्राकृतिक आपदाएं भी आएंगी। तो इन सबको बचाने के लिए जैसे हर चीज प्रकृति में जो भी चीज है सर, हर चीज की जरूरत है। तो हम सभी को सबकी रक्षा करनी चाहिए। ये नहीं कि वो जैसे हमने अभी कहानी में पढ़ा, बाघ को सब लोग मार रहे थे, मगर वही बाघ अगर चला गया जंगल से तो जंगल की हिफाजत नहीं हो पाएगी। उसे मनुष्य अपनी जरूरत के लिए उसको काटेगा, और जब जंगल कटेंगे तो जंगली जीव सिर्फ बाघ ही नहीं, खतरनाक जानवर ही नहीं, उसके अलावा और भी जो जितने भी रहते हैं जानवर, उन सभी को नुकसान होगा और सभी के जीवन पे असर पड़ेगा।
नहीं, आप सही, बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं। जो आपने बोला दूसरे एरियाज में जैसे पर्यावरण में बहुत फर्क पड़ा है, और हम देख ही रहे हैं मौसम में, तो हम देख ही रहे हैं फर्क। अब बारिशों का जो अंदाज है बिल्कुल बदल गया है। पहले आप बहुत आसानी से बता सकते थे कि इस महीने से इस महीने बारिश आएगी, तकरीबन रोज होगी, इतनी बारिश, इतना ऐसे होगा। और अब तो पता कुछ कह नहीं सकते। कुछ दिनों में बहुत हो जाती है, कुछ दिन फिर होती नहीं है, और ये बहुत सालों का पैटर्न है। और गर्मी आप देख लीजिए, यूरोप जैसी जगह में इतनी गर्मी पड़ी इस साल, तो इंडिया में भी ज्यादा गर्मी पड़ी। तो सब जगह ये गर्मी, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग तो हकीकत है। तो ये और ये जो पेड़ों का काटना इससे रिलेटेड है, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। कोई और कुछ कहना चाहेगा? ठीक है जी, फिर हम यहाँ पे ही समाप्त करते हैं। थैंक यू गुलाबी मैम फॉर डूइंग दैट सो ब्यूटीफुल। थैंक यू ऑल, एंड see you all next Sunday. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Sia. Bye.
Sir.